there. You said you thought that Brian Daboll be fired. Are you surprised that the what is his name, Sheehan or whatever, the general manager? Are you surprised he wasn't fired? And on top of that, he's in charge of the coaching search.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not sure what the process is for the Giants. I'm not sure what the thought process is for the ownership there. Um, the way I saw it, the way I've always explained it was those two were like birds of a feather, and they she got in together and she got out together. Um, it's not to say that Joe Schoen doesn't deserve another opportunity elsewhere, but it's just something that I think you clean the slate. You know, you cut ties with everything and you restart, you rebuild, and you do it for the betterment of the franchise and for the team, right? You don't want to have that eerie feeling where the players go back and say, "Well, this guy got rid of coach, he could get rid of me," or some maybe sentiment. You know, people get heartfelt, sentimental about the how they were brought in. Maybe it was a coaching staff, maybe it was a GM together with the coaching staff. So you don't want any of that. You just want to clean yourself of everything. And I said it before. I didn't believe in them. I didn't trust that hiring. I don't think it was a good pick because they were just because the Buffalo Bills were doing well. They're not a championship team, and I feel like the Giants need to look for championship caliber GM and championship caliber coaching. And saying that, I just I'm okay with what happened with Daboll, and shown should have been shown the door, right, or the same. I don't know why he will be involved in the next hiring of the next coach for the New York Football Giants. So
Do you think that the four concussion protocols that Jackson Dart went through, you think that played a bigger role in it? You know, he was fined $100,000
right.
for forcing that the other day. Uh, or do you think maybe it's because of the defense and he was in charge of the defensive coordinator hire? What's your thoughts on that aspect of it?
Um, there's so much talk here in New York media about what was going on and why he got fired. And I just the reality is, if you're an owner, I think it's just everything, right? You started off well, you got coach of the year, then it's not your fault that you lose a quarterback or a running back. That's on the GM. But then you have to pick up the pieces of what became, of that. You have to work with what you got. And it just it seemed like it got to a point where Dabo didn't have anything else to say, didn't have anything else in his pocket left. And being a head coach of a team like the New York Football Giants, you always have to look forward and you always have to just keep moving on and just trying to get past that. First of all, not just the division that you're in, but you have to be up and ready to go against the media that's out here, and you can't just put anybody in this position. And I always said that I'm, some people are like, well, who do you want, and like, why are you against them, and why are you against this coach and that coach? Is like, look, they don't have to be from New York. Nobody has to be from New York to coach a New York team, but you have to understand New York. You have to
Yeah,
understand your fan base. You have to understand your team. You have to understand your owner. You have to understand the players that you have there. You have to recreate a culture. You have to recreate a mindset that you're all or none. Like, you can't just be like, yeah, we're gonna develop a quarterback. Yeah, we have one of the best players. That's not what any fans of New York Giants want to hear. They want to hear that we're gonna beat the Cowboys. We're gonna beat the
yeah,
Commanders. We're gonna win this division. We don't care who else we got to go through, and we need guys who want to run through
Rick
everybody,
Ross.
and yeah, and you got to get people to follow you, and you can't do that by looking around and not understanding why you have to answer these tough questions by the media, including guys like us, right? Because
Yeah.
we're not only fans, but we're part of the media. We're posting stuff. We're engaging with other people. We're conversating, and we're using
Oh
your
yeah.
name. So he didn't have it, man. He didn't have it, and it's okay. He could pick up the pieces, learn from it. And it's he seems like somebody that will be able to find another position in another team, and he should work from that. You don't have no regrets. You were in the biggest you're on one of the biggest teams in the NFL. Maybe not the best in the moment, but you had your try at it. You're not
Yeah.
the only one. He won't be the only one that fails, and he won't be the last one that fails. So, you know,
Why do you think that they didn't fire that coordinator? I mean, the defense is really what's let them down this year more than
yeah,
anything.
definitely. The one thing that when I made my prediction in the beginning of the year, saying that the Jets and the Giants are going to pick fourth and fifth in the NFL draft, was the
Yeah.
fact that you can't just win games on one of the teams. You have to have a combination and a balance. And those things didn't look like they were happening to me before people even started playing on the field. It didn't look like the balance was there on the roster, right? And who creates the roster was the GM. So, and if the GM goes in and tells you this is the team you have, you're the coach, you have to put something together that makes him at least give you an opportunity to compete. You got
Yeah.
to be able to compete, and that competition mindset was not there for not the defense, which is supposed to be a top rated defense because they have so many. They're young, the mixture of youth, the mixture of the Dexter Lawrence, this guy you burn, you're getting all these guys from another team, and nothing. You got nothing from your defense, and what's worse is that your offense can't score points. Remember, I sat here and said, okay, they got Jackson Dart. He's got a rifle of a mark. Who's he throwing to? Fine, Neighbors. Okay, he's great. He's one guy. Neighbors
Then
get
he
hurt.
gets
Who,
hurt, and then yeah,
who? Nobody. I'm not sure what the situation was. Hurt. With the situation with the wide receivers. I'm not sure what's going on. Like I don't know if it's uh um if it's one of those things where everybody just wants to lean on Neighbors, right, and not give the ball to another wide receiver. I don't know what the deal is, but those two things were not working when the season started. When they got into the opportunity where they could have won, they should have won, they didn't take advantage of it. Not as a coaching staff, not as a team, and not even as individuals going out there to compete. It just doesn't, and that's why I feel like yes, they let go of the coach, but I don't think Sean should have been like 2 minutes away from the firing as well. So I mean, I don't know what people were expecting from the New York Football Giants just because they had two or three good games. I didn't see it on the paper as if an opportunity they was going to have an opportunity to be in the playoffs. So
yeah,
and the number one thing is the owner never came out to say and tell the team that they were rebuilding in the rebuilding stage and just come and support us and let's try to win with what we have. Like if the owner would have said that to begin with, if he would have said that we're
yeah.
rebuilding, it would have been a totally different perspective. But they're over here dangling pieces like, oh, we patchwork, teams and offenses with Daniel Jones, and then they didn't re-sign Saquon, and just doing those things. It just felt negligent for not just the GM but the ownership for allowing that to happen. That those things to me is
And
why
I
I'm,
was
I'm not.
okay with moving on from Barkley, but you let him walk out of the door. On top of that, even worse, you let him go to a division rival. Why not trade him? Even if you get like a fourth or fifth, at least trade him to the AFC or out of the division for crying out loud.
But we sat here on
That
draft
guy
day.
second guesses himself too much.
We sat here in hard conversation on draft day, Robert, and you looked at me and you thought I was silly, but I was like, if you're gonna let go of one of them, you gotta let go of both of them because you
Yeah,
wasn't you wasn't gonna make anybody happy. Now, even doing that, they should have again what you're saying, what we talked about, get value for that at least. They didn't get any value, and on top of that, like you said, they traded it to a division foe, and he ends up winning the Super Bowl the next year.
yeah, sticks it right to him.
I
The
mean,
very
come
next
on.
year, he likes to play nice with these guys. You got to take the emotion out and tell them it's never personal. But we have a job to do as a general manager, and we have to do what's best for the New York Giants, not what's. I feel
I
like
mean,
he was really. I want to say a word, but I'm not going to say it on here. But walking gingerly with Saquon. I watched it in that Hard Knocks thing, and I'm talking about she and the general manager there in that
yeah,
situation with Barkley.
yeah. And to be honest with you, I don't know if that was a good thing that they made that. Um,
Hard
and that's
Knocks.
not. Yeah, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm glad I got to see it all the way through. But
Oh,
I
I
saw,
loved it. I
yeah,
wish I'd do more of them and mandate it.
yeah, really, and Saquon did one for himself as well on Amazon. I'm not sure if you watched that one.
He's got one on Amazon.
Yeah, on his own personal on his what the ride was during the same time They filmed the
Okay,
other
I'll look
one.
that up then.
Yeah, yeah, it's
By the
interesting.
way, a side note: the Amazon, there's a very good series about a USC player in the early 2000s that played on that Matt Leinart national championship Reggie Bush team
The
on that.
cocaine dealer, the dealer.
Yeah,
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 I
he
saw that.
sell. You know what? I felt like they stopped short of saying this guy was providing steroids to the players. They didn't say that in the documentary, but I felt like it insinuated that.
It, yes, I feel like they mention it without saying it, and without throwing anybody
Yeah,
under the bus.
that's really good documentary. Usually Amazon's documentaries are terrible. They're not like Netflix or was 30 for 30s, but that was good.
Yeah, no, it's a good.
I
It's
mean, that was
a.
crazy. You can't make that stuff up. That guy's lucky to be alive. But
But he's still in
it was
jail.
good. It was very good.
Yeah,
So I'm like you, man. I made some notes. I mean, they were 31st and against the run last year or this year, excuse me. Currently, they got Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, K1 Thibodeau, and Abdul Carter. I mean, who do you think they should get? I had a suggestion last night, but do you have anybody in mind you would like to see him interview or possibly bring in to hire?
I would rather them bring in Michael Strahan as now. Listen, before you jump on my
Yeah,
words,
that's all right. Go ahead.
as a consultant, to make sure that shown if he's still the one in charge of bringing in, to make sure that they both be like, this is what the Giants are about, this is what we want as a part of our culture, and this is the kind of coaching staff that we need to get. And I mentioned this to other people that I talked to and I spoke with. Man, I don't care who they bring in. What I care about is that the people they bring in, the staff they bring in, that they ain't leaving the door the next season. We got three examples, and I gave three examples to the people I talked to. You got LaFleur at Green Bay has one of the best winning records, and I can't stand this guy as a coach, but he has one of the
Yeah,
best winning records in the NFL for the last three seasons. But he doesn't have a coaching staff that's been there with him for the last three seasons that's been consistent. Can't get into a Super Bowl. Second
yeah.
one, what we saw with Mike Vrabel, some of the best coaching staffs that he had went to the playoffs, and as soon as those guys started going to different teams, never got past the playoffs.
Right, right. Arthur
Now,
Smith, it
so
wasn't the same.
there's something to be said about a coaching staff that can stick with you for 4 to 5 years, and you will be going to a playoff plus a Super Bowl if you have a good head coach. And the best example we have, who's done it already in the last 10 seasons, is the Kansas City Chiefs with all of the guys who've ever been on that coaching staff. They could tell you they've been there for 3, 4 plus years, and they're good. They're good because they're all on the same page. They all have a message. They all have a culture, and it doesn't matter who they bring in as a player. Everybody's on the same page as a team, and that's very vital and important. So you could pick anybody you want out of a hat. I don't care, but make sure his coaching staff don't want to lead the New York Giants in the next 4 to 5 years.
Well,
And if
that's the price of success. I mean, if you start doing well, you're going to get people's going to start plucking your staff.
Oh yeah, but how
Unfortunately.
many Kansas City head coaches
Well,
or
Matt Nagy got hired away. That running back coach, who I told you was not is not really a good coach. We found out the guy that was later fired as a coordinator for UCLA.
right, right.
I forgot his name now, black guy.
Yeah.
But
Well,
Nagy went to the Bears, got fired, brought him back,
brought him back. That's
and
right.
then Stagnola, he didn't leave because he's already been fired as a head coach. He's not head coach of mature. I think you want to say he's been fired twice. I
He
know
was
he's
a
coached the Rams or somebody.
yeah,
Steve Stagnola.
he was an interim coach, and then he became the coach of the Rams.
Yeah, and they
So
wasn't that good
yeah,
under him.
but again, but even if you use those two guys, a couple other guys here and there, they're 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 pretty consistent in their coaching staff as far as even when Spags came
He
back.
brings a lot of these guys back when they do get fired, kind of like
Yeah,
Belichick. You
yeah.
know,
So like coaching, like even if you mention the Patriots, they've had the same few guys. They have one or two guys that left, but they've had a core of coaches that are at least three or four
yeah.
coordinators that stay with this guy.
Ted
And
Johnson stayed a few years too long. I think a year or two longer with Dan Campbell, and
I
it
mean,
really helped. And
I
so did
don't.
Aaron Glenn, but I didn't think Aaron Glenn was that good. But I know Johnson was highly sought after, the offensive coordinator, and he
Yeah.
stayed a couple of years because Dan made that family-like atmosphere with the coaches. Here's my suggestion: Brian Flores, because your defense is so bad. Of course, now his lights went off. Now when Brian Flores with the Minnesota Vikings to be your head coach and bring over the quarterback coach, Josh McCown, former
Mhm.
quarterback, back up 18 years. He's the quarterback coach with the Vikings. You could bring some of that magic over there. I think that would be an ideal because you want somebody working with Dart, you
Well,
know, that you think has some sense and has a quarterback background, you
yeah,
know.
I feel like they're putting way too many eggs in one carton with Dart. I don't know if he's the future yet to say that we're going to make sure that this kid is got a coach that can coach him. I don't feel like Dart is that player yet. And I say that,
No, I'm just saying that quarterback position's got to be important, though.
yeah, I
You
know,
know,
but if you're the owner and you're the newcomer and incoming coach, you can have to be honest with yourself and say we're not sure if Dart is the future. You cannot just be like, this is the guy, we're gonna
yeah.
go with it. Because what happens is, like, you can even bring somebody in to bridge that time frame. Because the thing is that if you're that coach and you come in and you say that's your guy, in year two, year three, if he ends up being like Stroud or ends up being like, a quarterback that did well the first year, and then the second year, then they can't get out of their heads, just like this quarterback here in at the Jets. I don't know what's wrong with him, that he's not doing
Fields.
well. But yeah, like, if you're like, you can't just put all that. I think that's one of the problems the Giants have, is that they're naming this guy the next Tom Brady, the next big thing of New York, and he's not yet. I feel like you got to earn that.
So you would
So
draft another quarterback?
I would not. No, 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 no. Don't get me wrong. Now I would move my pieces around, and I would solidify my offensive line, get a running back, m- solidify my defense in the back end, and just, if you bring in a guy like McCown, it's okay. But I like what would be good about him is that he's been in New York, he's been a Jets quarterback coach, he knows media, he knows how to
Yeah.
handle himself. So that's not a bad idea. But again, who's he gonna? I would be more interested to know who your coaching staff is going to be. If we even bring in someone like Antonio Pierce, for instance, who's your who's your staff going to be? Are they as young as you? Are they older? Are they looking to be the future, to be in the future with the Giants as a Super Bowl team, or are you looking to get a job because you coach the Giants? That's who
Mm.
I want. I want a coach that's going to stay in New York for 5 years, guaranteed, and I'll pay you whatever you need. Just stay here, and we're going to do this, and we're
So
going to do it the right way.
what you really need is kind of like you need a veteran staff, guys
Right.
that's probably not going to job hop.
Exactly.
That's been my philosophy. If you hire a boy wonder guru guy that's worked with McVay or whatever, or Chow Shanahan, and they're our age or a few years younger, and they bring in other guys our age or a few years younger, and they're all ambitious in air quotes, and they jump. What they need is guys that are older around them that's been in the league 15, 20 years, preferably 50s, 60s, closer to my dad's age, veteran coordinators that had been fired a couple of times, and they're not really that ambitious to go out and get that head coaching job.
Right.
You want to
Like,
keep those. That's what I want here in Tennessee. I thought we had that with Callahan and his dad, but his dad was just the offensive line coach. The defensive coordinator's a young guy too. Denard Wilson's our age. You don't want young guy, young guy. You want Wade Phillips as your coordinator.
that's
You know,
right.
with Sean McVay. That's how Sean McVay started off. Then he started once he became a head coach for a few years. Then he started going with some other guys because I think Phillips. I would like to maybe get a guy like maybe Rex Ryan as your coordinator. You want a guy like that can really hold down that side of the ball.